So we're talking about companies that have maybe a monopoly position or maybe a dominant position right now, but they have a weak barrier, which means competition can come in sometimes. It's maybe dependent upon different factors. And so sometimes if you're a monopoly and you understand your barrier is weak, you might want to charge a higher price right now to get as much money as you can before the competition comes in. Or sometimes you might want to keep your price lower so that it doesn't give that incentive to new competition coming in as well. So by keeping your price low, keeping your profit margin low, you might discourage competition from coming in, and that might be your best decision long run. And that's known as limit pricing, where you try to limit your price to keep out competition, making that so attractive. What's the best strategy? It's up to each individual firm. They have to decide, again, because they have price-making power, they have a lot of discretion over that price, and they have to figure out what the best strategy is for their business. Another kind of price strategy is known as price discrimination. And it's not just a monopoly, but any firm with monopoly power, price-making power, can use price discrimination to increase their profits, both in the long run and short run. Now, to price discriminate, what this means generally is you want to charge different prices to at least two different consumers for the exact same good or service. And this is done simply to increase your profits. And there are three different kinds of price discrimination. This would be what's known as the first degree price discrimination, and this is known as perfect price discrimination. This is when you can charge the highest price of each consumer what they're willing to pay, which is hard to do sometimes. For example, if I run a car dealership, we like to, if you did that, you probably want to try to size up your customers when they walk on the lot. And you might want to figure out or have some idea of what their price, how much they're willing to pay. And so you might want to charge a person who's dressed as well at a higher price than someone who dresses maybe in cutoffs and in sandals or something like that. And so your job as a customer is not to appear rich. Your job is to appear low income, and then maybe they'll might give you a lower price. So here, they can charge the highest price. And so here we have the person up here who's willing to pay that price. And so the monopoly knows that, or the price maker knows that, and that's the price they charge that person, and so on. They charge each person the highest price they want to pay. So what they've done is they turn the demand into the marginal revenue. Every time they sell one more, they keep the higher price on the previous ones, and so it's only the new one they have a lower price on. So this person right here gets charged that price, and everyone else keeps being charged the high prices. That would be a great position to be in for a retailer. Fortunately, most retailers don't have that power. They don't know the highest price they're willing to pay. So if you walk into a store, everyone's charged the same price if they're going to buy a bottle of aspirin or a six-pack of soda. Now, the place where this does exist would be an auction. Something like eBay would be a place where this would be probably the end result. Because if you think about it, on an auction, who ends up buying the product? The highest bidder. So it may not be the highest price you're willing to pay, but you're definitely going to be the highest bidder, and so you're going to be pretty close to the highest price, if not the highest price. And therefore, an auction is the worst deal for a buyer, and it's the best deal for a seller, which is why they like to auction things off. Second degree price discrimination means they charge different prices for different blocks of consumption. So like if you buy in bulk, that you might get a lower price per unit. It's like you go to Costco, you buy a 24 bag, a bag or a carton of 24 paper towels. The per unit price is lower than if you were to buy, say, one roll of paper towels. And so this is a way to, again, they can increase their profits. And one reason why they can do this is that if you do buy in bulk, it's probably cheaper to sell per unit. So again, if you have one package of paper towels, you have to wrap that up. That's more expensive wrapping than it is to just put them all into one big container. And so you might save, maybe 2 or 3 pennies on each paper towel, but it allows you again to lower your cost. But the main reason why they do this is it gets us to buy more. than we would normally buy. And so by having a lower price in bulk, again, they can increase their sales. So they have consumers buy more than we would normally buy. An example of that would be, say, a car rental company who, if you rent the car for, say, 7 days, they'll lower the cost per day maybe 20-30%. But you would not normally have rented it for 7 days if they didn't do that. And therefore, you might be renting the car longer than what you would normally do based on, again, the lower price per unit if you buy a large number. And again, this is a very clever way for marketers to try to, again, to increase their profit. And consumers don't mind that because we think we're getting a good deal. And you probably do. I mean, if you're going to use the paper towels, then you probably will get a good deal. If you rented the car for 7 days and you really only wanted to use it for 5 days, that's probably not a good deal. So again, no one forces consumers to do this. It's simply an option. But again, it's a way for the retailers, the companies, to again try to increase their profits. And so again, there's a lot of, when you have price making power, you have lots of different kind of strategies you can do. And the next type of price discrimination is called third degree. And this is where we simply break our market up into, say, 2 broad categories. We have 2 groups of people. And so we're charging different prices for the exact same good or service for different groups of people, consumers. At least having 2 different groups. And so for this to work, a few conditions have to apply. First, the seller must be able to identify different consumers who have different elasticities of demand. So you have to have some way to differentiate customers who have a demand which is elastic from customers who have a demand which is inelastic, which is not that easy. And then we have to have consumers must not be able to resell the item involved or resell it easily. Again, that's because if you're charged a low price and if you can resell it to someone at a higher price, then you would buy it all up at a low price and then do that, go and sell it at a high price, and that would be known as arbitrage. For example, this wouldn't work with, say, brand new TVs at Best Buy. Let's say they give Chafee students, college students, they charge you 50% of the price they sell the regular price. Well, college students, if you're an entrepreneur, you would buy up as many TVs as you could, and then when customers walk into Best Buy, you would say, let's go over here to my truck, and I have this brand new TV in a box, and I can sell it to you for, say, 25% less than what Best Buy is doing. So usually selling items that are tangible, that can be easily resold, this would not work. This would tend to work better with, say, services. So this is quite common in, say, the airline industry. So over here we have 2 different markets. We have demand over here which is flatter, demand over here is steeper, and so this demand over here would be more inelastic. And this would be more elastic. So this could be, say, in the theater market, going to see movies, where people have different elasticities. More inelastic, if you're a higher income person, you can afford to pay the price to go watch movies, and therefore prices mean that much to you. If you want to see the movie, you're going to pay. If over here you're a poor college student who has much less income, then you would only see that movie if you got a price discount. And what the movie theater wants to do is they don't want to give a price discount to everyone. They want to give a price discount just to the college students and not to people who are willing to pay the full price. And they can differentiate the 2 customers by a college ID. And so they ask us to see your college ID, you get a price discount. And this can allow the movie theater to increase their profits. So let's say the marginal cost is the same, and it's kind of flat, or it is flat in this case. And going to the movies, the marginal cost is the same, whether you're a college student or not. It doesn't cost them any more to get the movie or to sell you a bag of popcorn or to use the restroom. Everyone's cost is the same. So over here, they hit marginal cost equals marginal revenue right here. And that's a profit maximizing output. Same thing here. Marginal cost equals marginal revenue. But they want to sell this amount here, QM, at the highest price possible, and so they'll go up to the demand line. And because demand is steeper, it doesn't fall as falls faster. they charge this price up here. Here demand is flatter, so they don't go up as high, and they would charge a lower price here. And so the college student gets a discount, and the non-college student does not get a discount. So this monopoly price over here would be lower than the one over here, because these are the ones higher willing to. These are the customers who are willing to pay higher prices, and these are the customers who are not. Another example of this would be the airline industry, where you would typically the airlines charge many different prices for the same flight, the same class of flight from here to New York City. Southwest, for example, they only have one class of customers. Everyone is in the same class. No first class, but they charge different prices. And the way they charge different prices is normally when you buy your tickets. So normally the ones who buy their tickets way in advance, say a year in advance, normally are flying for travel reasons, for vacation, visit family and friends, and therefore they don't have to be there in New York City, and so they have a lot of discretion, and so they have more choice, and therefore they'd only fly if they get a good price. The ones who typically have to buy tickets on short notice are the ones who are flying for business reasons. A problem arises for a customer or client in New York City. You have to be there tomorrow, and therefore you're going to pay, or you're willing to pay a higher price. And so that airlines, what they do is that maybe they think about half the seats are going to sell. They're going to people flying for tourist reasons, so they'll give about half the seats until half the seats are sold. They will have low prices, and then at some point when half the seats are sold, they'll raise the price over to here and pick up higher prices for people flying more for business reasons. And this is a very common way, again, to increase your profit by raising the prices on people who are willing to pay and keeping the prices low on the ones who would only buy your product or service based on having a lower price. We'll stop there.